Dr. Chugh and Dr. Malhotra. Dr. Chugh, I have this question for you. I've already asked Dr. Malhotra this question when we had the last discussion. The question is, sir, are we, and I don't mean the hospital you are representing, private, public, all the hospitals, are we prepared really to take an onslaught of the third wave as far as children are concerned? Because I'm quoting reports that our hospitals are not very well prepared for the infrastructure. If there are a sizable number of critical patients, children who get critical due to COVID, we are very much dependent on a belief of their immunity. And that's what's adding to this anxiety, which Mr. Vora is just representing today.
Yes, it is true that our hospitals are not absolutely fully geared or prepared. But remember, this talk about third wave is going on for the last 3 months or so. So all hospitals, whether it's in the government sector or it's in the private sector or the very small ones, the very large ones, each one of them is having drills and drills weekly basis as to what we would do, how we are going to plan, and everything has been kind of planned. We know that if suppose 100 patients come, this is what we'll do. If 200 comes, this is what we'll do. If 500 comes, if 1,000 comes per week or per month. So we are all prepared for that. And yet the numbers that we have in this country, the population that we have, and the hospital bed ratio to the population ratio of children also, we know is not at all in our favor. So if a big wave of the worse than the second wave comes, yes, we'll be in a problem. But that is not what is expected. Wow.
That's not expected, right? And Dr. Malhotra, taking this point forward, a lot of children have also developed antibodies. There's so many children who did catch COVID in the last phase. So there is a sizable number. Dr. Bajar had spoken of sero survey, but when we speak of antibodies in children, even that's pretty high. And that's why the confidence in the panel today, isn't it, ma'am?
Yeah, definitely. The seropositivity rate has been there in children, and we should, I think, what we can do is we should, I think, emphasize that all children who are going to school should take the influenza vaccine. There is some cross-reactivity, and it provides additional protection. So till we are able to vaccinate them against COVID, we should at least give them the influenza shot. The seasonal influenza shot is out, so that this is the time when they should be taking it. So that should be encouraged. It's an optional vaccine, which we normally don't recommend to all healthy children. But in the present context, I think all children who are going to school should take the influenza vaccine.
And also, as you said, immunosuppressed patients, any child who's going through chemo can choose to stay at home.
Yes.
Optional anyway.
Yeah, those ones should restrict to the online classes. That would be better till they get the vaccine. That would be, I think, prudent.
Amrita Das, you heard both points, parents' anxiety. Yes, it's more focused on urban, but, unfortunately, that's really the medium which we work with, the language which we are speaking in. Our approach also, unfortunately, a little limited to urban. But yes, I totally agree with the point that there are many who don't have access to digital devices. But really, when you speak of urban parents, you heard their anxieties. You heard, of course, the doctor's point of view as well. As someone who's counseling, as a career counselor, what would you tell parents of students, whose children are in class 11 or 12, what would you tell them to alleviate their anxiety, ma'am?
So what I'd like to say is there is a digital divide even in urban areas. And I would therefore like to endorse what Dr. Bajaj said, which I said right at the very outset. Yeah. Secondly, it's important for parents to make informed decisions, and discussions like these where they hear the medical point of view also is very useful, because we have just been fed on anxieties of all the drastic impact that could happen if kids go to school. But I again go on record to say that where COVID protocols have been followed, where you have the SOPs in place, schools are the safest places today. They've created a bubble, a safe bubble. Kids are in any way moving out where every public convenience has been open. So why not the school? It is such an essential place for children. So getting kids on alternate days with parents' permission is very essential. Now I can tell you that when the schools opened in Maharashtra, in Uttarakhand, in Himachal Pradesh, in Uttar Pradesh, I've been in touch with them. I've been having webinars on various issues. Initially, there was about 50% attendance. It went up to 60%. And for the senior students, it's 80%. Why? Because the board exams this year will not be held online unless there's something unforeseen and the school shut down. So there will be OMR sheets. The students have to be in school to prepare for projects and to do the practicals. So that's the reality today. So senior students have to be in school unless there is some unforeseen situation and we have to shut down. So we have to be agile.
Dynamic. Yes, dynamic developing. Dr. Singhal, I'll let you in the conversation, but I want to just ask the parent representative here. Convinced, Mr. Vora, would you say the parents associated with or who are working with your association, would they, would they get convinced by these discussions?
Knowing the school lobby very well, the parents are not very sure. We agree that the parents are going to malls, to different places, to Manali, everywhere, but the children are under parent supervision. When you leave the children on school, it's as per the law, it's school's responsibility to look after the children. Whether the schools would follow all the SOPs properly or not, who will take care of that? Parents are skeptical of that point, first of that. When we go out, we see to it that our kids are wearing masks, what they're interacting. When we are sending our children to school for 4 hours or 3 hours or alternate days, they might carry back.
Well, one question for you: when you have to someday let your children out of the house,
that's right,
out of the sight, right? How long can you keep them locked in, or how long can you keep this 24/7 vigilance on them?
No, that's right. I agree with you. What I'm saying is, had this hype of third wave not been created, I think most of the parents would have ready to send their children. But the third wave, someone is saying third wave will come in October. This is being told by Dr. Fraternity also, with due respect to all the health sector here. So this third wave is a very big issue. What has created my mind of very well educated. I'm a BMP guy myself. I don't see any logic behind the third wave, but in every person's mind, the third wave point has come. But to some extent, I agree with you also. We have to send the children, and we must, even I would be sending my child who's in 11th for the practical exam. There's no option of online exam for science exam. My daughter, she's topped her school. She's come second in DPS school. So I'll be sending for the offline exam, which is mandatory. But I would first like to wait and watch for, let's say, a period of 10 or 15 days. After that, I would like to send my child.
Yeah,
I feel the schools are being extremely responsible. They're micromanaging the situation. They're being very, very particular, very careful. And I again say, as parents, please be engaged with the school. Please go and see the arrangement.
How do you know that schools are being following that?
I'm on the board.
Right,
and I am again saying, parents and people from Parents Association, please be closely associated with the school. Help them and see for yourself the arrangement.
Maybe a constructive way forward instead of a debate would be that maybe students or the school should work closely with the Parents Association, take their feedback, bring them maybe to the schools, let them inspect, and if they don't feel satisfied, then make the changes they're requesting. Dr. Singhal, Dr. Sharma, let me go ahead. Let me include them also in the conversation and hear their point of view as well, ma'am. Go ahead, Dr. Singhal first.
Yeah, I do hear Mr. Vora talk, and I mean this sort of reflects a bit something that we call as helicopter parenting, where we want to protect our children, and it does come from very legitimate place of parenting. But like everyone's been talking about, that at some point we do need to let our children venture out. Some point we need to use this as an opportunity to develop resilience in our children. And I know a lot of people have talked about the digital divide and how it's very urban focused, but even among the urban strata, there are a lot of children with special needs, children with specific learning disabilities, children with autism, children with ADHD. These are people.
Ma'am, your audio has been muted by mistake.
Education. These are people who do need specific help. They need special educators. They need special counselors for their all-round development. And this is people with special needs that we're talking about. Adolescents right now are in a stage where their brain is undergoing dynamic changes of synaptic formation and synaptic pruning. And this is an important time for intervention, where we need to intervene, provide them the adequate environment for social and emotional development for their children. Moving forward, I feel that instead of being very problem oriented, we can also be very solution oriented, which again, I would like to bring back the point about having open and honest dialogues between all the stakeholders, having an honest dialogue between the parents and the schools and the school administration and the children as well. I think in all of this, we've been addressing parental anxiety for so long. I think we've completely forgotten about the people who are the most at center stage here, which is the kids, the children. If parents have so much anxieties, it's very, very natural for children to be very, very anxious and be overwhelmed with the.
Yes, I have a follow-up, observation. It's not a question. And Dr. Sharma, I'm sure that will also help alleviate some anxiety, justified anxiety of parents. That it's not really young children who are going to schools. I have a 8-month-old boy now. It's not like when he'll be 2-year-old, he will be going to school. I understand that for a 2-3-year-old, difficult to make them understand, the importance of mask. But someone who's in class 9 and 10, maybe with a constructive dialogue within the home itself and in schools, this goal can be achieved, isn't it, ma'am?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to include this thing only as I started with that friendly advice. So, Mr. Vora, okay, if you can't trust the school authorities for following the SOPs, but we can trust on your own children, right, to following SOP. So if you are having that bond, that rapport with your own children, then definitely they are going to follow up these things. And we should have that trust because, even before COVID, you were sending your kids for 7 to 8 hours to the schools. And the schools are actually acting out as a second parent for the children. And they are more responsible for the whole development, psychologically, educationally, for the everything. So they are playing very important part in their lives. So I think that trust should be there, that open conversation should be there, and more trust on your own child. Because psychologically, yeah.
COVID era was different. Pre-COVID era was different. Post-COVID, we have seen.
But sir, let me share my observation.
Dying,
let Mr. Bora speak and I have to give the other doctors and others also.
What we've gone through in last 3-4 months, we have seen people as people dying. So
it's been a difficult time. That's what's happening.
My child cannot ask school to follow SOP without not following. My child,
Absolutely. I have a policy intervention here, which is very important because wave upon waves are predicted for the future. As a priority, as most countries are vaccinating children above the age of 12, we should give it as a priority and have a time frame to start vaccinating kids above 12. I think that's of utmost importance. The government of UP has started this. I would urge all state governments and the center to take this in hand and start this process on a mission mode.
For fair point, ma'am, and Dr. Chugh do come into this conversation here. And I bring you, and I will bring Dr. Malhotra before, of course, I move on to other panelists also. The question really, Dr. Chugh, is that, and which many are also saying, I think we have lost. Okay, no, we have Dr. Chugh. Yes, Dr. Chugh, the question in my mind really is that vaccination of children, now, Zydus Cadila has themselves not given a very clear timeline on when they will be producing the vaccine, the exact timeline on when they will be vaccinated. You yourself spoke about the massive and mammoth population of this country. It's going to take a while. Is it that important to get children vaccinated? Because there are many doctors and pediatricians who were earlier talking about immunity of children. And as we had, of course, Dr. Malhotra also speak about the same on other injections, the viral, protecting children from viral flu, that is more important. Their basic vaccination is anyway more important than the so-called COVID vaccination.
All vaccines are important, but the context right now is COVID vaccine, right? So in COVID vaccine, it is the COVID vaccine only which will protect to a significant degree. Flu vaccine, other vaccines will give little bit of protection, maybe nothing significant. Proper vaccine given in the proper dosage, in the proper interval, then only we can assume that our children are reasonably safe. Now, what an additional point that we can do is that there is Moderna vaccine, the Zydus Cadila vaccine, and hopefully soon the Covaxin will be allowed by the regulatory authorities to be used for children. Once that regulatory authority says yes, then my suggestion is all these vaccines we should stop using for adults. They are reserved only for children. For example, if somebody has received Covaxin first dose, yes, give him the second dose of Covaxin only. But do not give Covaxin to any other adult once it is approved for children. That means you have a larger number available for children.
Practical, sir, considering
it is practical. Government is controlling everything. One order from the top and it's done. There is no question. I don't see anything wrong with it. But if it's a 40% population we are talking about, and for that we have given 65 crore doses and not one to a child. So why not, when it becomes available for children, that let's try to catch up and give more to the children so that they also come to 65 crore proportion. That means almost 35%, 50%.
Totally agree. Very important.
I have a counter to this, sir. Yeah. With all due respect to you and Dr. Bajaj come into the conversation, I have a counter to this. Because since you own a group of hospitals, I'm sure you saw a lot of more complex cases, more critical cases in the elderly and the adults. It's they who are more susceptible to more difficulties developing while they're recovering from COVID. And would you not say in that context, maybe the government is right when they are giving the first priority first to the elderly, then 18 above, and at the last children?
Elderly is understood. But what about youngsters?
They have been
on the 30s and 40s. They're probably as having a immune system as good as younger ones.
Point taken.
I would disagree with Dr. Saab, because in the last wave we saw a lot of mortality in the 30s and 40s. So fortunately, children have been spared of that serious disease till now. And I totally agree with Meenakshi ji when she says that the current protocol is actually very, very correct. It has been followed throughout the world, not just India. We have been giving priority to the adults. And I feel that it is as per scientific evidence. We should always go by evidence-based medicine. I totally empathize with the parents and the pediatricians there who have affinity towards their children. I also have very young children who will be going to school tomorrow onwards. I was buying uniforms for them today. So I totally empathize with you, but I feel that going by evidence-based practice is our responsibility as torch bearers of science here.
I'll tell you that as a parent, even I am a little in my heart, even though I'm conducting this debate, I'm a little happy and satisfied that my child is not going to go to school. I would share some of the anxieties of Dr. Vora, and I'm listening to all the scientific reasoning, but somehow, a mother's heart, it's a little difficult. So I understand the parents' point of view as well. But Dr. Malhotra, we're reaching the fact of the debate, and I'm going to take just one point before we wrap. Suggestion, advice for policymakers, for students, for parents. What would you say, ma'am?
I think it's in the individual's hands. I think children, our generation children are very smart. They are way smarter than what we were at their age. So schools are presently opening from 6th standard onwards, 9th mainly, and then 6th. So I think this age group children are very wise. They are very aware. And these are the children who can be taught to be responsible for themselves. Each individual, if each individual in society learns to be responsible for themselves and learns responsible behavior, it is not a difficult pandemic to control, with or without vaccination.
Absolutely.
All right, Dr. Singhal, what would you like to say to parents like Mr. Vora? And I will give him the last point. I'll give him the last word. Dr. Singhal.
Yeah. So again, like I said, that we need to be more solution oriented, and I think one of the best precautions and the best measures that we have against COVID is to wear masks. And how to get our children to wear masks in schools? How do they wear masks for 4 to 5 hours at a stretch? So again, I think just to take it for granted in a way that our children will do this, and that if we tell them they will obey this, we know probably kids will not. They would want to share their lunch boxes, they'll probably be running around and they would take their masks off. So at that point, I think it's important that we ask our children if they're comfortable wearing the mask. Sometimes it's not of the right fit. Sometimes they don't like the way they look when they wear a mask. Sometimes they feel very suffocated. So I think it's very important to ask them if they're comfortable with the mask that they have. They can be engaged in their mask making process, maybe use their favorite color or, have their favorite cartoons on it. And third thing being, we can use these first initial days before the schools completely open up to sort of ease them into wearing masks every day. We can sort of help them get used to this sensation of wearing a mask, how the mask feels on the face, and gradually increase the time and the duration and the frequency with which they wear the mask. We need to give out clear rules to our children and revise them almost every day on the daily basis in the morning before they leave for school, so that we can ensure that they're taking the right precautions. Something like, I wear a mask on the class and in the grass. So that's a very simple way of telling the child that they need to wear the mask when they're in the classroom and on the grass when they're in the playground. So these repetitive messages, very unconscious nudges,
trying to drill it into their subconscious literally, and making sure that they wear a mask.
Yeah, all about developing habits.
Dr. Sharma, class 9 student above, very easy. Class 6 and above, would you agree all the same method would work?
Yes, same method will work, because if we see children independently without parent supervision, they are best in their version. So please trust on them. If we are doing proper sensitization, they are going to follow all the precaution. They are feeling more responsible for their own safety. So you don't need to repeat the instruction again and again. They are totally, because from last 1.5 years or almost 2 years, we are continuously spreading these messages. Wear masks and wash your hands. So these things are already in their mind. Yeah.
Dr. Das, sorry, Amrita Das, go ahead.
So where schools have opened, all that you have spoken about, children being responsible, schools being responsible, parents being engaged, has made a difference. So let's be pragmatic about it, cautious, pragmatic, and look ahead and bring in all the stakeholders. And I absolutely agree. The schools do care as much as parents for their kids, and the kids are very concerned about ensuring that they are safe and they don't have to be kept back from school again. So they are the most important stakeholders. So let's trust them. And I can tell you, wherever the schools have opened, it's been a very successful coming back.
All right. So Dr. Chugh, let's talk about, as we end, the Kerala model numbers are increasing. Maybe that's also adding to the parents' worry and anxiety. Schools are opened there, but protocols were not followed. What would you say about that, sir, in the end?
Well, it's not just the schools that led to the increase in numbers in Kerala. There are many more reasons, and probably the Delta variant was the main thing. So what I keep saying is, it is the virus that is going to decide all these issues. If the virus mutates significantly and it penetrates our defense that we have developed because of having suffered or because of the vaccine, then we have had it. But we are not expecting that. The science is predicting that the change in the virus is not going to be a major one. It is
even the new variants which have come, if we speak of C1 1.2 or even the 8.1.2, which has been seen in Podi Garhwal and in South Africa, Dr. Bajaj, the new variants and mutations really haven't been that dangerous. So third wave, would you agree, not that dangerous? Maybe parents, perhaps, would you urge parents to maybe trust school children, have a healthy dialogue, maybe engage with the schools directly and give it a leap of faith?
Yes, well said, leap of faith.
Yes, Dr. Bajaj. Yes,
see, as Dr. Singhal said, predictions are not our job really. I mean, we are not Bejan Daru wala hai that make weather prediction whether the third wave will be very critical or not critical. But as Dr. Chugh said, we have a graded action plan. See, we have a graded action plan. The governments have brought it out very clearly. Currently, the positivity rate is less than 0.04%. We have a graded action plan where it starts from positivity rate of 0.5%. In the last wave, I think the mistake we did was we started out when the positivity rate had crossed 5% already, and then it was too late to rein it in. But now we have learned from the previous waves, the graded action plan kicks in from 0.5%. That's when the lockdowns will start. And I'm sure the governments will close down the schools the first. So let us trust the governments, let us trust the protocols. When the positivity rate starts climbing up, we will definitely withdraw and come back.
All right. Point taken. Last word to you, Mr. Vora. I won't ask you whether you're convinced or not, because many decisions are taken pragmatically. Many words are said, emotionally. But as far as the numbers are concerned, as far as, what the psychologists say, what the education is, so eventually you have to send your children. And I have to send my child also to school eventually. What do you think is the right approach if we were to end this program on a positive note, sir?
I would like to say that the parents should take the initiative and whatever they're in their mind, and the school should make it sure that the confidence of the parents are built up. It should not shelved, but something should not happen. The unfortunate incident should not happen that the children go to the school, bring the virus home, and the grandparents who are suffering with diabetes, they suffer so. If they can take proper precautions, and let us see for 10-15 days if all the schools follow the proper SOPs, and I think the confidence will be built up automatically, because they've been sent, and even the working parents are not happy with them, children sitting at home. So I think it's a wait and watch policy for 10-15 days if the schools do their job very well. Like one school, Mount Carmel, has postponed till October. I think they're preparing themselves very well. So if the schools build up the confidence in parents, I think they would go ahead with sending their children. The only thing is we have to see in next 15 days, how does the school lobby, take this action, and how do they follow the SOPs, at the time of when the school is over, at that time where the disposal of the kids, who's looking after the kids, are doing social distancing when the parents are coming to pick them up at the time of dispersal in the afternoon. So if everything is being followed properly, I think the parents will fall in line and send their kids. Everyone will send their kids.
Absolutely. I'm glad that we've at least moving towards a consensus, even though we've not been fully able to convince all the parents. And of course, everyone is a very individualistic decision, as Dr. Malhotra also said. But certainly, going by the current cases, going by the current trends, it does look like it is, of course, a healthier scenario, maybe less risky. Or open dialogue between schools, parents, and teachers is what's required. Ensure that your children wear the mask, and perhaps class 9 and above children, older enough to understand really the meaning, the repercussions, and even the precautions they need to follow. Maybe let's take a leap of faith. I leave you with that thought. It's a discussion, a debate, which we will be carrying out through this week. For now, thank you all the doctors and the panelists for joining us on this very riveting discussion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.